on my Black History Month, I just took a little offense to something that he said. He said immigrants built America, and I have no problem with him giving his props to immigrants. But let me tell you something, Shaboozey. Immigrants did not build America. Black people built America, and black people are not immigrants. African Americans are not immigrants. We were forced to be here. Immigrants is by definition are people that came from another country to another country to live and be prosperous or whatever. So
Uzi realistically is the perfect example on why I don't look for celebrities to speak out on certain things. Because I think he said what he said came from his heart, came from a pure place. And maybe, of course, he stumbled on his words. And that's one of the reasons why I don't, especially for younger artists, where it's like, and when I say even younger, like you could even be 30 something. But if these type of topics wasn't something that you was raised up on and you was really born with, or this is not a regular conversation that you have in your everyday life.
How easy is it to say Black Americans built this country and immigrants helped make it the melting pot that it is today?
Immigrants built this country, literally. Actually.
Hello good people, welcome to African Commentary. Here we learn and grow every day. If you're new here, kindly consider subscribing, liking and sharing the videos. I will really appreciate. So in today's video, I want us to talk about the Grammy Awards. I believe that the biggest topic on the Grammy Awards was about immigrants, because most celebrities, or let me call them artists, who won were speaking about immigrants' rights. That's not bad, that's okay. As you all know, the ongoing ICE violence towards immigrants and all that. So there is this musician, I believe he is Nigerian American, by the name Shaboozey, who said a statement that has sparked a lot of reactions from Black Americans. He said that immigrants have built America, and this statement has gone viral, and most Black Americans are speaking about it, but I understand why. So before I speak much, let's hear what Black Americans had to say about this, and then I'm going to give my 2 cents at the end. Also, let me know what do you think about this in the comment section down below.
Shaboozey, the Grammys, and chattel slavery. Let's talk about it. Yesterday, Shaboozey won his first Grammy ever, and in his acceptance speech, he thanked immigrants, which was like immediately very exciting for a lot of people, but it also stratified folks because in it, he thanked immigrants for building this country. And some people had a problem with that. On the one hand, people really praised Shaboozey for doing this, for being brave and using his platform to stand up for immigrants, especially at a time like this. But like a lot of other people felt kind of insulted by it, right? Because it sort of erased Black Americans in a really strange way, and it totally polarized people, and I want to talk about it. My first really important point is that chattel slavery was not a form of immigration. The people that were enslaved in America were not immigrants. An immigrant is someone who makes the decision to leave their country and move to a foreign land. There's a degree of like free will and agency in that decision, which is not to suggest that there are not immigrants who are like escaping dangerous or violent places or persecution. That is very true of a lot of immigrants. Chattel slavery was in no way a form of immigration, right? This process involved the stealing and forcible movement of African people across whole oceans to a country where they were then forced to labor for free on American soil, right? Like there was no intention or decision making by enslaved persons. Definitionally, chattel slavery was a hereditary system in which white people literally owned enslaved persons, right? It was a form of legal property, which they were then allowed to buy and trade and sell and also inherit. It was disgusting. It lasted for 246 years in America, and Black people have never received reparations for this forced form of like servitude and slavery. And so what Shaboozey said yesterday at the Grammys was definitely like an offensive, but perhaps unintentionally so, statement about immigration as it pertains to chattel slavery. And it's one that people make pretty often, right? Again, it's important to note that one, enslaved American people were not immigrants, right? They were stolen. And two, it's not only immigrants who have enabled this country to prosper, but they really have allowed it to prosper. Black Americans built the foundation of this country without pay, without recognition. They toiled. It was a very violent, forced system of capitalism. It's horrendous, like untold horrors. And And so it is essential when you're discussing the history of America to speak very heavily and accurately about the immense contributions that Black Americans made towards this country. That being said, I'm not mad at Shaboozey. I don't think he was trying to erase this really important part of American history. What I do think he was trying to do was to use his platform to stand up for immigrants at a time like this when they're in immense danger. It's essential that we defend them and we talk about how important and amazing immigrants are to America. But we can do that at the same time as we acknowledge the important contributions Black Americans have made to this country, especially during Black History Month. So yeah, what I think Shaboozey probably meant to say is that immigrants are essential in America and they are meaningful and their contributions are vast and immense. And also Black Americans are responsible for this country being founded and its flourishing, and they never received reparations for it. And we should never forget the transatlantic slave trade. All right, happy Black History Month.
Let's unpack this Shaboozey statement using three lenses. We're going to talk about empire, choice, and erasure. When we talk about empire, we have to talk about the fact of what imperialism does in building empire and why people aspire to come to the equivalent of the capital when they're living in war-torn districts. There's an element here around choice, right? It's something that a neoliberal would love, which is that these people came here and chose to be a part of this empire. It makes empire much more palatable. It makes the Hunger Games much more reasonable when someone has volunteered as tribute to come here and live the air quote American dream and raise themselves up by the bootstraps. This reinforces this notion that America is still desirable if people actually want to come here and would give up so much to leave where they're from to come here. It's also neoliberalism catnip because it allows white people to feel like their reason for being in this country was voluntary and that it wasn't sort of part of prior empire. It allows them to separate good white people from the old world versus new white people who are maybe coming in and doing things like destabilizing countries and going to war, right? Most liberals probably don't send their kids to war. You see how that's a subtle difference? I think the real thing here that it hinges on for me is around this notion of choice, right? People coming here, choosing to be here, it means that there's something about the project that is America that is appealing. The idea that immigrants built this country and not enslaved people built this country also allows people to take some pride in having been here by saying that their people did hard work the right way, the legal way, and they weren't under force. In summary, this is equivalent to I would have voted for Obama a third time in terms of how we myth make the value of what America means. In terms of erasure, I don't think immigrants actively choose to do so. Part of this is a flaw of the education curriculum, which doesn't teach the Civil Rights Act, which was basically spearheaded by Black Americans and sort of some allies at the time that made way for other groups to eventually come here legally and overdo those quota systems. So again, I think that part of that is about what history and what education is actually sent out to those sort of districts and what they internalize when they come here. I think a more well-informed person probably wouldn't say something as unnuanced as this, but again, I don't want to take away from the fact that Shaboozey did speak up, which a lot of people are not doing.
Last night during the Grammy Awards, artist Shaboozey won his first Grammy for Best Country Duo Group Performance for his song Amen, which is a gospel country song that he performed with Jelly Roll. During his tearful speech, he said that immigrants built this country.
Immigrants built this country, literally. Actually,
that statement was met with a lot of applause. However, many Black Americans online took issue with that. Immigrants did not build this country. In fact, they built on top of a foundation that was already laid down by Black Americans. Adding to this, you have who we know as the original inhabitants of the United States, tribal groups, whose history has essentially been pushed to the back. Making statements like this is dangerous, especially during Black History Month, a month that is meant to honor the inventions, the creations, the history of Black Americans in the United States. This was started by Carter G. Woodson. Carter G. Woodson was a Black American. I actually made a video on Carter G. Woodson in the past, so you can check that out as well. The reason why Black History Month is so important is because oftentimes Black American history is pushed to the back and it's forgotten about. By saying that immigrants built this country, that is erasure. On top of this, Shaboozey's biggest hit, I can argue, is off of the back of a Black American, Jaquan, who released the song Tipsy in 2004. So you release a country song that's a rendition of that. On top of this, you are occupying a genre that was started by Black Americans, country music. And it isn't lost on me that Amen is
is a gospel country song, gospel being another genre that was also started by Black Americans. Now, I'm one of the many voices that is pushing back against this claim that immigrants built the United States. I know that Zoran Mamdani made a similar statement back in the past, and that was also a point of contention for many. And him having a huge platform, it's very dangerous. Another part of Shaboozey's speech that I don't see a lot of people talking about, however, is the fact that he dedicated his Grammy Award to the children of immigrants and those who came to this country looking for a better opportunity. He furthermore dedicated the award to people who came to this country searching for freedom for all and better opportunity, equal opportunity for those who are willing to work for it.
This is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it.
As a Black American, I can tell you that no matter how hard you work, a lot of times as a Black individual, you will not obtain the freedoms, the luxuries that America promises. However, this dream is marketed to immigrants, and that is why a lot of times you see this problem where you have immigrants that come over to the United States looking at Black Americans saying, well, if you just worked harder, then you could do better. So Shaboozey definitely has to educate himself on these matters. I don't know if he will. However, it is important to push back against this narrative that immigrants built this country. It is not true. Please give Black Americans respect. Do not erase what Black Americans have done in order to make it possible for immigrants in large droves to come to this country in the first place. To the immigrants out there and the children of immigrants, just know that you can be proud of your history and your contributions to the United States without feeling the need to rewrite the history that has been present before you arrive.
Bruh, what is Shaboozey talking about?
That's a part of this. Harvey, Mason, thank you so much. I have the greatest team in the world. Thank you so much. And again, the last thing I want to say, immigrants built this country, literally. Actually, so this is for them, for all children of immigrants. This is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it. Thank you for bringing your culture, your music, your stories, and your traditions here. You give America color. I love y'all so much. Thank you.
Bruh, see, I knew the Grammys was gonna do something to annoy me. And Shaboozey set me off, bro. First and foremost, Black Americans, slavery built this country. And to keep skipping over that, to keep acting like that isn't what made this country is disrespectful. And it's why I feel like Black Americans aren't so inspired to stand behind certain things right now, because we're being excluded and everybody's okay with it. It's like nobody's batting an eye. Nobody said, hold up, let's get this thing right. You know what I'm saying? 400 years of free labor inventions built this country, bro. The culture comes from Black people suffering and still creating and still being great. Until we acknowledge that, bro, I don't want to hear about immigrants built this country, bro. I don't want to hear this shit. Have immigrants over time contributed to America? Of course. And I'm not, we don't have to take that away and disrespect that. But if you're going to disrespect the 400 years that was built before any of your people came over here, or any of these people came over here, or anything like that, the peasants from Europe, people from South America, people from Africa, you have to understand, bro. Black Americans suffered, and through that suffering, they still build something great. And until we acknowledge that, I don't want to hear shit about the immigrants built this country, bro. You feel me? Because it comes off disrespectful, bro. It comes off very disrespectful, you feel me? In every part. And I'm not just talking about the South. I'm talking about out west. And Black men building railroads out west, getting shit right. Black coal miners went up to Seattle, and they still don't get the respect they deserve. Right now, Seattle was what, less than 7% Black, but them coal miners went up there and straightened that out, made Seattle what it is. Chicago, Black brothers went up there and created the lotto system. New York, first of all, y'all always talking about New York. New York wasn't shit. Let me say this again. New York wasn't shit until Black Americans from the South went up there and created the culture that what is now New York. When you had Black people from the South going up there feeling good about themselves, dressing nice. Next thing you know, New York became the center, fashion capital of the world. Because you had those black enslaved went up to New York, seen opportunity, felt opportunity, started dressing nice. Statue of Liberty was for black people. Come on, man. So when you say the country was built by immigrants, you're basically ignoring all the contributions of black Americans and the sacrifices they did for this country, man. Black Americans went to war for a country that didn't respect them, brother. Shaboozey, you come from Nigeria, bro. You sing a song that Jaquan made. You in country. Big Mama Thought suffered, bro. Had songs taken away from her. Lil Richie never gonna get the respect. He was, throughout his whole life, he wanted his respect for the music contributions that he did. And you to get on that stage and say America was built by immigrants, bro, is disrespectful. And until America, I don't care about whatever political side you stand on, until America acknowledges the harm is done to black people and give black people that respect, particularly those black people that built this country up and the descendants of those, this shit ain't gonna be right. So I don't want to hear nothing about America was built by some immigrants, bro. I'm just being real.
Who is an immigrant in America, and was America built by immigrants? Yesterday was the Grammys, and there was a strong sentiment in support of immigrants and against ICE. There was a statement that Shaboozey said yesterday that deserves some discourse.
Immigrants built this country, literally. So this is for them.
You guys remember not too long ago, Zohran Mamdani made the same statements. Now, if we're being honest and we're being pedantic, to say America was a country built by immigrants solely is a complete rewriting of history, and it's disingenuous and erases the story of black Americans in this country. One of the sentiments I've noticed online over the past couple of years is that everyone across the world associates America with immigration, and they think nothing is indigenous to America. Like Americans don't have food, Americans don't have culture, Americans don't have anything that is unique to here. And they don't do that for any of the other countries in the Americas, whether it be the Caribbean or South America. And I understand why that is. It's because American hegemony has ran the world for the last century. And with that, American culture and American story has become synonymous with pop culture. So people don't feel the need to divulge and dig deeper. There is no reality that anyone who is a descendant of those formerly enslaved black Americans in America could be an immigrant. We are the product of forced migration to the New World, and we are one of the foundational Americans. I said previously that the only foundational Americans when this country was created are black Americans, Native Americans, and those original European descendants. Anyone that came later is an immigrant. Immigration and immigration means leaving a country voluntarily to move and settle somewhere else, whether it be permanently or with their hope of returning home. None of the countries in Africa existed when the slave trade was going on. So no one in the Americas could be an immigrant by definition. We have been in America prior to the inception of America being a country. I say that to say that doesn't erase immigrants from the story of America, because those Chinese and Japanese immigrants that came here helped expanded America westward, and without them, that wouldn't have occurred. The subsequent European migration that happened through Ellis Island helped develop all the major cities like Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, New York. Without our Filipino and Caribbean aunties, we wouldn't have any nurses to take care of us. Without our Mexican and Central American compadres working in the farms, we wouldn't have access to food the way that we do have it, or tend your gardens, or tend your home. So there's so many things that add to the story of America, and immigrants are definitely at the core of the American system, the American story, and American history. But when we're telling that history, we have to tell it correctly, because no black American will be offended by you saying immigrants definitely developed this country. They developed the country alongside black people, but at its foundation, for centuries before immigrants came, black people were here forcibly, free labor, forcibly. They helped develop these Fortune 500 companies, from cotton and tobacco farms, forcibly. All those other immigrants that came at least got paid. Whether they were paid pennies on a dollar, they were still paid, and they were never slaves. So when it comes to telling history correctly, especially during Black History Month, we have to say things correctly. And it's not a dig. I know what he meant, but a lot of people don't know what he meant, because I've seen comments saying, well, how are Black Americans not immigrants? You can't be immigrants in a country you were forced to come to. In the same way that Black Americans aren't immigrants, you would never call a Brazilian an immigrant, a Jamaican an immigrant, a Haitian an immigrant, a Dominican an immigrant. But for some reason, you guys can't seem to grasp that Black Americans are the same exact descendants of those who exist in the Caribbean and exist in South America.
So Shaboozey won his first Grammy today, and I am very happy for him. I love that we are taking country back, and country is now being known that it is a African American culture. It's a part of African American culture, and also that Black people are now winning in white dominated fields, and we are bringing back country back to the African Americans. Well, just Black people in general, because he's not African American. I'm just saying, just Black people in general, and that's good. But on my Black History Month, I just took a little offense to something that he said. He said immigrants built America, and I have no problem with him giving his props to immigrants. But let me tell you something, Shaboozey. Immigrants did not build America. Black people built America, and Black people are not immigrants. African Americans are not immigrants. We were forced to be here. Immigrants is by definition are people that came from another country to another country to live and be prosperous or whatever. So immigrants came from another country. Black people were forcibly taken from another country. African Americans were forcibly taken. Africans were forcibly taken from Africa. They came to America. We were bred like puppies, like golden doodles, like the dogs. They were just breeding us with everything. French, Irish, German. Anything imaginable they was breeding us with. Hence what made us a different ethnic group from Africans, just made to separate. Because as you are a Nigerian American, I guess you didn't know that. So after all of this, your parents came over to United States post-1965. You know why they came over to the United States? Because of the blood, sweat, and tears of African Americans. African Americans made sure that every single person of color was going to be able to have rights in America, immigrants or not. So after this, you guys came over after the blood, sweat, and tears of Black people. Immigrants did not build America. You guys wouldn't even be able to come to America if it was not for Black people. Okay? Remember that. Nigerians your Nigerian family is literally benefiting from the fact that Black people in the civil rights movement, and they spearheaded a movement to make sure that everyone in America had the rights and everyone was treated as equally. For you guys to be able to come over here, you guys weren't fighting the fight with us. You guys didn't come until post-1965. That's the reason why you're only a first-generation immigrant, and it's not deeper than that for a lot of people. So you guys are saying that immigrants built this country. I agree. They took over the lease on the house that we built, of course. Oh, you guys definitely took over the lease. But to undermine African Americans on Black History Month and not say, you know what, Black people and immigrants built this country. We are all under attack. And to say that immigrants are like the sole whatever, that's just unfair to me. And I have no problems with saying immigrants are a vital factor to American history, because they are. Immigrants are one of the hardest workers in the country, but the problem I have is that African Americans do never get their flowers. Y'all never give us our flowers to say, you know what? African Americans and their contribution to society, they are the reason I'm able to be prosperous here. And when we brought this thing up to y'all basically said that we're playing oppression Olympics and we're not the only people oppressed in America and we're not the only people that build America. You guys would not be able to build America or come over willingly to America to build and work for America if it was not for African Americans, and that is a fact. You guys can dispute it all you want to, but that is a fact. And I'm tired of immigrants, of Black people specifically, saying that immigrants built this country, because they would not be able to come here if it was not for African Americans.
Uzi realistically is the perfect example on why I don't look for celebrities to speak out on certain things. Because I think he said what he said came from his heart, came from a pure place. And maybe, of course, he stumbled on his words. And that's one of the reasons why I don't, especially for younger artists, where it's like, and when I say even younger, like you could even be 30 something. But if these type of topics wasn't something that you was raised up on and you was really born with, or this is not a regular conversation that you have in your everyday life, you're going to stumble on your words. And that's the reason, realistically, probably the cleanest speech of the whole night when it comes to just like what everybody got super excited for, and that's how they really felt, was probably Kalani and then Billie Eilish. And I'm not as familiar with Billie Eilish as I am with Kalani, because Kalani, that's who she is. She even felt like the industry was blackballing her at one point in time because she was too outspoken. So realistically, that's just who she is to the core of her stomach. She's not gonna stumble over her words. She's not gonna stumble over how she actually feels. She's gonna say what she mean, and she's just gonna keep it moving. If you get offended, it is what it is. But for Shaboozey and a lot of, and I even seen people, again, when I say you damn if you do, you damn if you don't, you seen people kind of on the fence because Kendrick Lamar didn't use that time and that platform to kind of say anything. He realistically just got on there. Shout outs to the Calypso, shout outs to Tyler the Creator. And people were upset about that. People were upset that Jelly Roll didn't say nothing. But I think sometimes you can't look for these celebrities to take the same thing. Even if you love their music or you felt like that, like especially for Kendrick, I know it's probably rubs people more a different way with Kendrick because people feel like that is who Kendrick Lamar is. Like he's supposed to be this person to take this moment and kind of be like on some super strong pro-black and go crazy. But sometimes, I mean, he probably felt like, man, I put in the work already. That's why I am Kendrick Lamar. I already did it. I don't necessarily know. I'm not in his brain, but I kind of just look at even the backlash for Shaboozey. It's like, I look at it like with the Anthony Edwards situation or Victor Wembanyama, but everybody ain't built for that. Like I'm telling you, perfect, even tied into sports. The NBA players outside of probably like prime LeBron and KD and them when they was kind of Chris Paul, when they was really in their bag and they was going super like with the I Can't Breathe t-shirts and all that, like they was different. Like that group, like that Kevin Durant, D Wade, LeBron, that group was just different. Everybody ain't like that, dog. And in today's NBA, I'm not looking for an NBA player to say nothing. If you talking about professional basketball players, I will go look for the WNBA to say something because that's who they are in their DNA. Those women, that's who they are. That is nothing new to them. That comes effortless to them to speak up on different topics that got this stuff to do with what's going on in the real world. Everybody ain't built like that. So I wouldn't sit here and get on here and crucify Shaboozey for the way he felt or how he may have stumbled over what he said or he may misspoke on certain situations, bro. Tell me one other time you actually seen him say something. Tell me another speech did you ever heard him give? Did you sit here comparing him to, or you feel like that was the level he was supposed to live up to? Everybody ain't supposed to talk on these topics, and that's one of the reasons why I will constantly say, stop looking for celebrities to speak on these topics, and you need to start bigging up more people like your Jasmine Crockett, your Angela Rye, and people in Nina Turner's, like people like that. If you're looking for people to use their voice, that's what they do. That's who they are. They built their brand and their personality on speaking up on these topics and using their voices. Stop looking for celebrities to be civil rights movement leaders because they not, dog. I'm sorry.
How easy is it to say Black Americans built this country and immigrants helped make it the melting pot that it is today?
Immigrants built this country, literally. Actually, so this is for them, for all children of immigrants. This is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it.
And while immigrants did contribute to this country was built upon and established by slavery of our ancestors. America would not be here without slavery, so to discredit that by saying immigrants built this country is insulting to our ancestors. Now, after America was established, did immigrants come here and help build things? Yes. The Industrial Revolution and everything after that would not be the same without immigrants, but that was after America was already established. So no, I am not trying to discredit what these immigrants have done for this country. But to say that they have built this country is discredit and a disservice to the Black Americans that were put through slavery for generation after generation. Because of that slavery, America is where it is today. And without slavery, America would not be here. So we need to do away with immigrants built this country because slavery built this country. And who was enslaved? Black Americans.
One thing I would appreciate Shaboozey for is that he has shown immigrants that it is possible to make it in America. Despite being an immigrant, despite it being hard for you to navigate life in America, it's possible, and it's even possible for you to win Grammy Awards. He has shown immigrants that it is possible, and this is an inspiration to the young people, to the young immigrants who are there to make it in life. I do understand as to why many black Americans were pissed off by this statement, because also for me I find it to be dismissive, I find it to be insensitive in a way that he didn't even acknowledge black Americans' efforts, struggles, and they're the people who built that country. Black Americans paved way for the immigrants. Without black American struggles, efforts, blood and sweat, America wouldn't be where it is right now. And also, if it were not for the civil rights movement, immigrants would not be enjoying the rights they have now. So for someone, especially an immigrant, coming and saying that immigrants built that country and not acknowledging black Americans, that is so dismissive, that is so disrespectful to black Americans. And this is the reason as to why many black Americans are pissed off by that statement. They are pissed off by him because, first of all, even if immigrants' rights are the biggest topic right now, even if immigrants are not okay right now, when you give a speech about who built America, it is so wrong when you don't mention black Americans. Yes, he's not part of black Americans, but the least that he could have done is just to acknowledge that black Americans have put in work, they have put in sweat, they have put in blood. For many, many years, their ancestors have fought. They literally fought for that country. They built that country to what it is right now. So immigrants just came when things were okay. They came when the way was cleared for them, when things were okay, and they didn't have to struggle, they didn't have to fight, they didn't have to protest. Even right now, as we're speaking about ICE violence and all that, black Americans are being dragged. The black Americans are being blamed and told that they are silent about ICE violence. Instead, they should be out there fighting. Why is it that those immigrants are not the ones being called out to go and fight for themselves? Why is it that black Americans are the ones being called out? Is it every fight they need to fight? When it comes to giving flowers, when it comes to acknowledge who built that country, black Americans are not mentioned. So I really do understand black Americans and to why they felt that statement was wrong. It was dismissive, it was insensitive. At least the least you can do as a person when you want to speak about who built America, don't forget to mention the struggles of black Americans' ancestors. Don't forget to mention how they fought, how they struggled to make that country what it is right now. It might affect his music career because I believe he's listened by also black Americans, and for that statement he needs to come back and say that I did not say this right. Of course, immigrants have helped in a way, but he can't dismiss that black Americans didn't help, that black Americans didn't build America. He needs to acknowledge black Americans. He needs to give thanks to them for paving the way for immigrants, for enabling people like him move away from their countries like Nigeria and coming and living there. Their parents coming to live in America and becoming even American citizens. All this was made possible by black Americans.